Aloha everyone! Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make coconut mochi. This is a treat that I make for my ukulele students at the end of every 6-week class session, because if you made it to the end of the class, you deserve a treat. So I got handed down this recipe as a butter mochi recipe, so I've kind of adapted it to be a coconut mochi recipe, mostly because then it can be vegan friendly and gluten-free friendly. And I live in San Francisco, so you know that's the way it is here. So we're gonna walk through the steps of how to make coconut mochi. The first thing you need is mochi flour, and this is a sweet rice flour. You're gonna need coconut milk, vanilla extract, baking powder, sugar, and toasted coconuts. And you'll need a little bit of butter, or I like to use vegan butter for greasing the pan. So first you want to preheat your oven to 350, and then we're going to grease our pan. And I've found that vegan butter or butter works better than coconut oil for greasing the pan, just in my experience of making sure that the mochi comes out of the pan, because mochi is super sticky. So I like to add a little layer of coconut on the bottom. It's a nice way to get a little bit of the coconut crunch and also make it easier to get out of the pan. So first we're going to mix our dry ingredients, and I made this recipe super easy. You just use 1 box of mochiko. It winds up being about 3 cups of sweet rice flour, and then 1.5 cups of sugar, and then just a teaspoon of baking powder. So I like to just kind of mix all that together a little bit just to make sure the baking powder is mixed through. All right. So now we're going to mix together our wet ingredients. And again, super easy, just 1 can of coconut milk. So if you get coconut cream, you can still use a whole can. It's just going to be, you know, a heavier, denser mochi, fattier, some might say tastier. Or if you use like a light coconut milk, then it will be a lighter coconut mochi. And again, making this super easy, you just fill this up with maybe like 3/4 of the way with water, and add that as well. It winds up being like a cup and a half of water. I kind of eyeball it. Okay, and lastly, you're gonna have a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Cool. That's it. Okay, so after you've mixed up your dry ingredients and your wet ingredients, then you just combine. And then you're just gonna pour a little bit of the wet into the dry. I like to do it that way first. Again, the mochi flour is pretty sticky, so you want to make sure you mix pretty well. It should be somewhat liquidy when you're done mixing. It might look more liquidy than you think. So this is the other thing about kind of eyeballing the liquid. If it looks like it is a little too sticky, then add a little bit more water. It's okay if it's a little lumpy. In my experience, I've found that it doesn't actually make that big a difference when you finish. So when it's looking, you know, pretty smooth, you got most of the lumps out, you can add a little bit of coconut. That's got it to taste. If you like a lot of coconut, like really coconutty in the mochi, then you can add more. I just like to add a little bit. And again, this recipe is super simple. You just pour it straight in. You don't have to do anything at all. So you can see it's a little liquidy. That's kind of how you want it, yeah? And then we're going to sprinkle a layer of coconut. You're just going to pop it in the oven for an hour at 350 degrees. Okay, moment of truth. Dun, dun, dun. Cool. All right, nice and golden brown. So what I usually do now is put it on the windowsill to cool for a couple of hours before I cut it. So after it's cooled, what I like to do is loosen it on all sides. You might have to dig underneath a little bit and get it to loosen up. But then what you can do is pour this out. Dun, dun, dun. Gracefully like that. And then you can use a pizza cutter to slice it up. I know traditionally in Hawaii a lot of people use a plastic knife. So you could do that too, but sometimes I've broken many a plastic knife this way as well, so. Okay. So, you guys ready to take a look at this? All right, so you can see there's nice crusty edges. There's some of that coconut on the bottom, some of that toasted coconut on the top. I'm gonna do like they do in cooking shows and show you how good it is. So it's really moist and chewy in the middle. And the way I make it, it's not too sweet. I only have 1.5 cups of sugar. Some mochi recipes out there say like 2.5 cups of sugar. So mine is less sweet. You can adjust as you like it. But there you go. That's coconut mochi. It's sweet and sticky and coconutty. And it's vegan and gluten-free. I think it tastes best the day after you bake it. So that's why I make it the day before the last day of class. So when it cools down and has a day, it gets a little bit more densely sticky and sweet. It'll keep for like 2 to 3 days out at room temperature, but you can always nuke it if you put it in the microwave for like 8 seconds, then it gets soft again. Happy ukulele playing. You can treat yourself to some mochi afterwards. Okay. Jimmy's like, I'm gonna eat that one.